On August 20th in Zhangjiakou, Hebei province, a group of people was seen kneeling and crawling along the road, shouting, "We beg the Sha Huayan government to stand up for the people. We beg the Sha Huayan government to stand up for the people." These individuals might have been migrant workers who had not been paid, or perhaps homeowners who had fallen victim to unfinished construction projects. Due to the oppressive nature of CCP politics, people in China often face injustices and find it impossible to obtain fairness. With no avenues for just treatment, they are left with no choice but to resort to extreme measures like kneeling and begging to gain the attention of government officials. However, these citizens seeking justice are labeled by the CCP as petitioners and are viewed as a source of social disorder. What kind of treatment will they face? They face beatings, arrests, sentencing. In some cases, they disappear altogether. In a society tightly controlled by political repression, people are deprived of their freedom, yet resistance continues to surface, as seen with a courageous young man featured below.
反对中共，封锁网络，控制言论。
I'm a blogger and I oppose the CCP's internet censorship and suppression of free speech. We don't want privileges, we want equality. 3 years ago, they labeled me a political criminal, and now I can't return home. I want people to see through their facade. They've imposed numerous unjust conditions on me. They even took 4 routers from my home, along with laser sound transmitters, light-sensitive power control modules, and my OnePlus 5 phone, which they still haven't returned. This man, who appeared after the Sitong Bridge incident in Beijing, is another young person voicing his opposition to CCP tyranny. The Sitong Bridge protest took place on October 13, 2022 in Beijing, where a protester named Peng Lifa hung 2 banners on the bridge and broadcasted audio through speakers. The banners called for food over COVID tests, reform over cultural revolution, freedom over lockdowns, votes over leaders, and dignity over lies. Don't be slaves, be citizens. Additionally, a recording opposing Xi Jinping was played, calling him a dictatorial national traitor, while burning tires created thick smoke to attract attention.
我用路由器广播了，习近平下台。
This scenario is once again playing in mainland China. The young man in the video mentioned, "I use routers to broadcast calls for Xi Jinping's resignation. I oppose their crackdown on public dissent. We need freedom of speech and internet freedom. They persecute and harass us both online and offline. These are unfair terms, and we will never accept them." 3 years ago, this young man was involved in the Tear Down the Firewall movement, which aimed to break through China's internet censorship. The CCP labeled him a political criminal and raided his home. He was subsequently committed to Tsinghua Dao Julong Mountain Psychiatric Hospital, a key facility used by the CCP to persecute dissidents. Many anti-CCP activists, including the well-known Ink Girl Dong Yao-chong, have been detained in this hospital. The Ink Girl incident took place in July 2018 when Dong Yao-chong live-streamed her protest against the CCP's one-party rule outside the HNA building in Shanghai. She criticized the party's thought control and splashed ink on a portrait of Xi Jinping. Later that day at around 3:30 p.m., Dong posted her final message on Twitter. "There are uniformed men outside my door. I'm going to change my clothes and go out. I'm innocent. Those who are targeting me in Shanghai are the guilty ones." Shortly after, her Twitter account was deleted, and she could no longer be contacted. On July 22, 2018, RFI reported that Dong Yao-chong had been diagnosed with a mental illness by doctors at the 3rd Hospital of Zhuzhou City in Shanghai. She was sent back to her hometown in You County, Hunan Province, on July 16th and was admitted to the Zhuzhou 3rd Hospital on July 22nd. She remained there until her discharge in January 2020. Dong was readmitted to psychiatric hospitals twice, with a 3rd hospitalization occurring in February 2021. Since then, there have been no further updates on her situation. Her father was sentenced to prison in September 2022 after a violent confrontation with his ex-wife. He was reportedly beaten to death while in custody. The young man in the video is now facing a similar ordeal. After his release from the psychiatric hospital, he is unable to return home and can be seen hiding in a rural area in the video. However, the video was not posted by the young man himself. It was shared on August 14th by Su Yu Tong, a freelance writer living in Germany. Su explained that the young man had asked her to release the video on his behalf, as he had previously been falsely accused of political crimes and detained in a psychiatric hospital. In the comments section of the video, many internet users voiced their support for this courageous young man. One comment read, "Stay strong, awaken Chinese youth. We are grateful to every brave individual. We hope he remains safe." Another user remarked, "Even if Xi Jinping steps down, another leader will take his place because the CCP's regime is a dictatorship with no checks and balances. China will only improve once the CCP falls." Su Yutong also commented, "The spark ignited by Peng Lifa during the Sitong Bridge incident continues to spread. Recently, Fang Yirong displayed a Sitong Bridge banner on a bridge in Hunan. We all know that directly confronting the regime in mainland China often results in imprisonment, and these brave young people are aware of the heavy price they pay in lost freedom, yet they persist." Since the video was released, the young man has been out of contact for some time. According to Su, they had agreed that if he went missing for a certain period, she would release his personal information and call on netizens to support and advocate for him. This information has now been shared. The released information reveals that the young man's name is Yang Zongjian from a town in Qinhuangdao, Hebei province. He has long circumvented China's internet censorship to stay informed about global news and has supported various social causes, including the Hong Kong pro-democracy movement. He is a vocal critic of the CCP regime and a strong supporter of Taiwan's democratic values. Anti-CCP protests have extended beyond Beijing and Hunan to Jinan, Shandong province. On February 21, 2023, a young man named Chai Song projected a message reading, "Down with the Communist Party, down with Xi Jinping," in bold white text on a red background on the north wall of Wanda Plaza in Jinan. Chai Song, a native of Hebei, has been involved in business in Beijing and Shandong, primarily in real estate leasing. He rented large residential buildings and sublet them for a profit. However, the pandemic lockdowns over the past 3 years severely impacted his business, leading to substantial financial losses. He explained, "My stable tenants couldn't return. They had gone home for the holidays, but were unable to come back due to the lockdowns. These tenants couldn't pay rent because they had no income, but we still had to make payments to the building owners. With so many clients in this situation, the company couldn't sustain itself. This grid-style management, lockdowns, road closures, and welded doors, is the simplest method of control for the authorities. They had no other means of management, so they resorted to violence and threats to restrict our freedom and rights." During a trip to Beijing, Chai Song personally witnessed the city's refusal to admit people from outside seeking medical care, even those who were critically ill. They were turned away at highway checkpoints and not allowed to disembark. He said, "At that time, the healthcare system was completely paralyzed. There was also the devastating fire in Xinjiang. So many inhumane events. The chaotic reopening after the pandemic made things worse. People couldn't buy medicine, and many died because the government had made no preparations. This was a blatant disregard for human life. The pandemic led to many deaths over these 3 years, causing a buildup of public anger that ultimately exploded during the Xinjiang fire. The lockdowns and welded doors were the reasons people couldn't escape to safety." This frustration drove Chai Song to protest as he saw no hope under the CCP's policies. In his growing despair, Chai decided to vote with his feet and leave China. Before leaving China, he rented an apartment and set up his equipment. Upon arriving in the US, he remotely activated the projection of the electronic banner. In an interview with overseas media, Chai Song said, "The spirit of Peng Lifa's Sitong Bridge protest deeply resonates with me. Peng understood exactly what he was doing and the consequences he would face. He was willing to sacrifice himself for China's reform, even if it meant giving his life. It is his courage and defiance against tyranny that move me most, rather than the words on the banner." The young man, Fang Yirong, who unfurled a banner on an overpass in Xinhu County, Hunan Province, also said in his video, "Tyranny is undoubtedly terrifying, but it cannot crush the human spirit. No matter how much the CCP persecutes us, it cannot stop the ideals of democracy from taking root and flourishing in the hearts of the Chinese people. The Yangtze River will not flow backward. I hope that the Chinese people can soon rid themselves of authoritarianism and live better lives." The spirit of resistance among these young people is continuing to grow within Chinese society. Recently, high school students in Nanjing, opposing extra lessons during school breaks and advocating for freedom and against excessive competition, formed the Nanjing High School Anti-Competition Alliance. Images circulating online reveal that they have issued a statement titled Joint Declaration of the Nanjing Anti-Competition Alliance in Nanjing No. 42 High School, which identifies over a dozen key schools in county-level administrative districts for targeted reporting. They plan to continue their efforts by petitioning both the municipal and provincial governments, and will escalate the pressure if they are unable to reach the provincial government by continuing to contact the municipal authorities. The students declared, "We've managed to secure a 40-day break through our own efforts, but our goal should not end here. We should aim to set a new record. We, the students, demand liberation. We demand freedom. We call for open-minded education. Freedom guides the people." Initially, the Alliance's mission was to address excessive academic pressure. The students focused on collecting evidence of mandatory extra classes and heavy homework assignments, and reported these issues to educational authorities using the guise of concerned parents. As the movement gained traction, more students joined, and within just a month, the Alliance's membership rapidly grew. By the end of July, over 1,000 students were part of various group chats. The name Nanjing No. 42 High School is not associated with any real school. Nanjing does not have a No. 42 high school. The Alliance adopted this name because the leading members were primarily from Nanjing No. 29 and No. 13 high schools. The No. 42 was derived by adding 29 to 13. The Alliance's emblem was created by combining the crest of these two schools. Thanks to the Alliance's efforts, by July, most public schools in Nanjing had canceled extra classes. However, by late July, reports emerged that schools such as Yanzi High School, initially scheduled to reopen on August 10th, intended to start classes a week early on August 4th. The Alliance quickly regrouped and successfully prevented these schools from reopening early, just as they had done in July. According to mainland bloggers, the police subsequently tracked down the students and disbanded the Alliance's groups. One of the main organizers, a 17-year-old boy from a prominent high school, came under police surveillance. His leadership was notably effective. Within a month, he had established 3 large groups, drawing students from key middle and high schools in Nanjing and causing the membership to surge dramatically. Chinese police have claimed that this intensifies students' resistance to schools and learning, potentially leading to sensitive issues like strikes or hunger strikes. However, such statements are merely an attempt to stifle the emerging awareness of the next generation. The growing consciousness among Chinese youth is driven by the severe restrictions and pressures imposed by the authoritarian regime. From a young age, they are subjected to ideological indoctrination and face immense pressure to excel academically, only to find that their efforts often lead to disappointing outcomes. Despite earning advanced degrees, many struggle to find respectable employment, as exemplified by frequent reports of Tsinghua graduates working as food delivery workers or Tsinghua graduates being forced to return to their hometowns to raise pigs. As China's economic downturn persists, companies are reducing hiring, and the job market continues to deteriorate, leading to a rising youth unemployment rate. According to data released by the CCP's National Bureau of Statistics on August 16th, the urban unemployment rate for the labor force aged 16 to 24, excluding students, reached 17.1% in July. This represents a 3.9 percentage point increase from the 13.2% reported the previous month, setting a new high since the Bureau resumed reporting youth unemployment figures in January. This data reflects changes made by the Bureau in January, which included excluding students from unemployment statistics and splitting the 25 to 59 age group into 2 separate categories. According to official statistics, the unemployment rate for 25 to 29-year-olds, excluding students, stands at 6.5%, which is a 0.1 percentage point increase from June. For the 30 to 59 age group, the unemployment rate is 3.9%, showing a 0.1 percentage point decrease from June. However, considering the CCP's tendency to obscure unfavorable data, the actual unemployment situation is likely much worse, with real rates potentially exceeding 30%. This escalating unemployment crisis has left tens of thousands of university graduates struggling for survival. Some have been forced into low-paying jobs, while others, referred to as unfinished kids, rely on their parents' pensions to get by. The term unfinished kids has recently become popular on Chinese social media. This term parallels the phenomenon of the millions of unfinished construction projects, ghost cities, that have troubled China's economy since 2021. Unfinished kids describes young adults who, despite their parents' years of hard work and investment, graduate only to find themselves unemployed and unaccomplished, much like the abandoned buildings. According to Zhou Yun, an assistant professor of sociology at the University of Michigan, for many Chinese university graduates, the aspiration to use a degree for better job prospects, higher social mobility, and a brighter future has become increasingly unattainable. These unfinished kids find that their qualifications hold little value in China's struggling economy. Consequently, some unemployed graduates have turned to living off their parents' retirement savings, effectively becoming full-time children. Even graduates with advanced degrees, considered part of China's elite, are not spared from this crisis. Last year, 27-year-old Zephyr Cao earned a master's degree from the prestigious China Foreign Affairs University in Beijing. Despite his qualifications, he struggled to find a well-paying job and ended up returning to his home province of Hebei. This experience led him to question whether all those years of study had been worthwhile. He remarked, "If I had started working right after my bachelor's degree, after 3 or 4 years, I would be earning almost the same as I do now with a master's degree. It might have been better to start working sooner." He is now considering pursuing a PhD, hoping that the job market will improve by the time he graduates. Amanda Chen, who recently graduated from Hebei University of Chinese Medicine, also left her job after just 1 month working in sales at a state-owned enterprise. She resigned due to a toxic work environment, unrealistic expectations from her supervisor, and inadequate pay. During her first 15 days, she worked 12-hour shifts but earned only 60 yuan per day. "I cried every day during that first week," she said. "I had hoped to work as a quality inspector or researcher because those roles aligned with my studies in traditional Chinese medicine." However, it seems that continuing in this field may not be feasible. Since quitting, Amanda has sent out over 130 job applications, but has mostly received offers for sales or e-commerce positions. She is now considering changing careers and might pursue modeling. These two individuals are among the more fortunate graduates. Many others, especially those from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, have faced such despair that they have died of starvation in their rented accommodations. A widely circulated article on Chinese social media tells the story of a woman from a poor county who graduated from a prestigious 211 university in Beijing. She moved to Xi'an in search of employment and achieved top scores in several civil service exams in Ningxia, but was not offered a position. Tragically, she was found dead from apparent starvation in a rented room at the age of 33, approximately 20 days after her death. Officials have confirmed that the incident did indeed occur, though the actual location was Xiangyang, not Xi'an. The struggle of these hardworking young people who cannot escape the economic downturn and national decline is a tragic reflection of the high youth unemployment rate in China. As some netizens have noted, this generation of young people are like ants in a so-called era of prosperity. They are victims of the CCP's oppressive system. The constraints of social class and systemic conditions are quietly destroying China's youth. Without resistance, their future is bleak.